you so much for this whole process.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
I just want to ask you a couple of questions. If you can just think back of last week and how you think it went. How do you think that your orientation went?
Well, I was pleased that at the end, I mean, you never know. Sometimes people will ask you questions during the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really seem to do that this time. Yeah. They seemed to wait till the very end. And they seemed a little bit hesitant more than other groups to just participate. So, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You just kind of have to know the people and try to read them. I could kind of tell that people were wanting to speak to me or you individually on a one-on-one, and that's when it becomes a little bit crazy, because then you have, you know, several people standing there waiting to talk to you, and they maybe want to have some private information that they want to share, and maybe it might make them feel uncomfortable to talk to you in front of other people. Mm-hmm. That's something that I was thinking about.
Yeah, okay, perfect. What did you feel like you liked the most about last week's orientation, or maybe that you think were, you know, some highlights of the day?
I think that the students were engaged. Mm-hmm. I think that they were paying attention. I usually do not see too many people who are just not engaged, mm-hmm. who are just sitting there, or even to pick up their phone and look at their phone. I didn't have any of that, so I was really excited about that. And then sometimes you get parents, mm-hmm. which always creates a whole nother scenario, you know, if there's a parent in the room, even if it's just one. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it'll slow the process down, because
they have different questions.
Yeah, they have and usually they're very, very much more inquisitive about certain things than the students are. So you kind of have to play it by ear, but for the most part, I think it went pretty well.
Oh, it sounds good. I mean, I was there, and it did sound like the students, at the end, they had a lot of questions because they felt comfortable enough to ask them. But yeah, I understand your whole point with when it comes to the parents. They do bring a different dynamic. Even for the students themselves, they feel like, oh, well, this parent's asking questions, and maybe the younger population doesn't feel like they can ask questions either because they feel a little intimidated. The particular parent was a little intimidating in the beginning too, so I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you think you could improve on regarding last time?
Oh, there's always something that I think that I can improve on. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, though, being able to step out and know what that is can be difficult because you're in it and you don't really. It's actually helpful to me to have you observe me and say, wow, Kim, maybe you should try this, or you know, just any advice. Really, I think we can always be improving. So for me, it's really helpful to have you, you know, your outside advice.
Oh, perfect, thanks. About your knowledge on the subject, on the content.
I'll be very honest with you. Mm-hmm. I don't always feel comfortable because it's something that a lot of the things I've just read off of the screen, and I didn't previously know this information. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's why I feel just a little bit like maybe I need to just do it more often and be a little bit more familiar with some of the information. I think probably the most thing that I think I need more practice in is maybe the government policies. I could look at maybe a little bit more information on some of those, because then I'll feel a little bit more comfortable on delivery. You know,
yourself for content knowledge. Is there something that you do?
No, but I should. I feel like I should, but No, I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe if I knew.
Focus on, you mentioned a little bit of like checking, making sure that not only is your information correct, but you're also checking for understanding from the students and making sure that they're receiving the correct information and that it's actually coming through. And I just wanted to go over a couple of things that I observed and then just have some questions for you.
Sure.
How do you feel like you checked for understanding during your orientations? What do you do to do that?
Well, usually I'm just observing them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching whether they're, number one, are they looking at me, you know, or are they just, you can tell if somebody's not engaged.
Like their body language?
Yeah, by their body language, by the way they're sitting, what they're doing, what they're looking at, even their facial expression sometimes, you know. Sometimes it's harder for the people in the back to know exactly what's going on. So sometimes I will take a walk back there and kind of, when I'm asking a question, I'll directly go right up to them and I'll say, what's your name? And if they sometimes, I mean, they always give me their name.
Yeah.
They have never said, no, I don't want to tell you. So it's usually sort of my way to bring them out and make sure that they're engaged is to just go up in front of them and try to make sure that they're looking at me. Are you watching? And I don't, ask them. Whatever it is that I'm talking about, I kind of bring them in to whatever it is that I'm talking about.
Okay. And my next question is, do you think you could have done any more, or there's anything else that you could have done for to ask any additional questions, or to do the checking, to check and
to check and make sure they're listening?
They're
Yeah.
understanding the
Yeah, I
concept.
probably should say, ask them. Do you does that make sense? Do you understand what
To
I'm
actually
saying?
ask the question more
Yeah,
often.
actually, yeah, because I usually hold that for a little while, but maybe I can do it more frequently.
Yeah.
And that hopefully will, I mean, I don't know really sometimes if you say, do you understand, if they're just gonna say yes sometimes. And that happens sometimes. They'll just say yes because they don't really even wanna.
Yeah, and one of the ways to kind of offset that is just to check for understanding and put it into practice. So one of the things during the orientation, when you do like the prerequisite and the recommended preparation, we have to go over that and understanding what the difference is between those. When you have the slide that talks about what the course catalog description is.
Right.
In there, that description has a prerequisite and it has a recommended preparation. So you can literally be like, okay, well, you can do like what we call think, pair, share, where you can be like, okay, well, talk to your neighbor. So think about it. Do you think that if I haven't met this blah 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 requirement, does it mean that this prerequisite? If I haven't, the examples from math 73 or 80. So if I haven't taken this class or I didn't place into this class, taking my placement exam, then can I take this class? And he's like, okay, well, don't tell me out loud. Think about it, and then talk to your neighbor. And then after you talk to your neighbor, it's like, okay, does anybody want to give me an answer? And why do you think that's so?
Oh, so you make them answer the question.
Yeah, you make them answer the questions. You don't just tell them. And the same thing for recommended preparation. And I think that would be helpful because not only are they actually stopping to think, but they're also interviews if you would.
Okay.
But I would definitely like that. It helps that you connect with each student individually. I think to take it a step forward, if you don't mind, I can give you some advice to just have them connect with each other too. So like turn to your neighbor, say hi, what's your major, blah blah blah. And then afterwards, like, okay, then you could go around. It's like, oh, what's your neighbor? Or even say like, hey, what's your neighbor's name? Or what are they thinking of majoring? And then at least this way the whole group gets to know each other, but they know the person next to them. And then that will make it easier when you do the think, pair, share.
They'll already
later
be.
On, they've already spoken to this person. Yeah, the ice. And not everyone's always going to be comfortable, but at least the ice has been broken.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's good. Turn to your neighbor. Ask. I want you to find out their name and what their major is, and then when I go around the room and let them talk about the other person, is gonna be a great.
I think like moving forward, we'll connect to each other. Maybe I'll model those regulations for you, and then we'll connect with information on like websites of how we can see that. Implement the think, pair, share. Implement like just getting to know you section where the students get to know each other too. But you do a really good job of connecting and getting to know them personally too. And then there was one other thing. The document. So we'll create the document for like what's next, and just so that they can not only follow along and take notes, but also have the, after this, where should I go? And just kind of almost like a checklist of what you have done and what you haven't done and where you can go and get those completed.
Do you think that, now I know that we always give folders out for the students that come here and do testing. And since we're offering a lot of flyers, do you think it would be wise to give them a folder, or is that something? What do you think?
I think that's something that you can decide once you've officially decided, like if with a new flyer that you are creating, is it something that they need? Is it something that they don't need? And I think you can gauge that based on when you've already created the sheet, because this is the folders to offset any additional information that you weren't able to share. But if, depending on the content that you have on that what's next sheet, I think then you can officially say, oh, we no longer need to, give out folders. We can definitely hold off on that and not give, 20 flyers in a folder versus just this one sheet. And in that sheet, you have all the information that you would have found in a folder, but just in a sheet form. Okay. I think that would be, helpful, but I think it really depends on what the content is that you have on your what's next sheet.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for helping me and working with me.
Oh, you give me great feedback, because half the time I wander around going, I don't know if I'm doing things right.
No, so you do a good job.
Well, thank you. Because I don't know.
No,
you
it's
know?
good. It's just a little bit more confidence in your content, and that's about it. Yeah.
Okay, thanks,
All right,
Carla.
thank